Good morning, Albuquerque, and we want to welcome everyone to a special 2-year anniversary of a project that is making a big difference in our city, and also that a lot of folks might not know a whole lot about. But it is an extension of a fascinating and powerful concept and project based right here in Albuquerque, which is known as Project Echo. And we're going to hear a little bit about what that is in general, but it's something that is actually all over the world. It was generated right here in New Mexico out of UNM, and has been, the sort of life force behind it is, of course, Dr. Sanjeev Arora, who is known for Project Echoes far and wide. And we're fortunate to have our own version of Project Echo right in Albuquerque's downtown. So today we're celebrating the second anniversary of the Downtown Project Echo. And it was the first of its kind version of this that initially brought healthcare to, hard to reach areas. That's sort of in general, the nexus of the initial Echo work. But for us, we applied it to community policing. And it's been a very powerful model for us. It's one of the best things we've been able to do downtown. And it is about community involvement and problem solving in group settings, and about relationship building. And it was also typically virtual even before the pandemic. And so it was way ahead of its time in terms of how this is actually put together. And basically community members put sort of their knowledge on the table and also get to know the officers and law enforcement so they can do different kinds of problem solving, bring to bear different kinds of resources and find different ways to assist. And so this really is proof of concept for Project Echo applied to community policing. I think now on the 2nd year anniversary, we can say that it works and it has impact. And that is a great thing for Albuquerque. And I think also as now other cities look to maybe replicate this, and even as we start the second Project Echo in Nob Hill, we can even see how this can work in different clusters around Albuquerque. So for us, we're very excited, I think, to declare victory on proof of concept. And so for 2 years, there's been 76 downtown public safety Echo sessions. And we've had practical suggestions, knowledge sharing, and resources that have literally helped people not only be safer, but also feel safer. And in total, we've had 2,765 attendees, which is really cool considering sort of the relatively small number of businesses and folks who are involved downtown. Now, we also know that there's about 60 case studies that we've put together, and those range from topics around sex trafficking to road rage to bullying to abandoned property disposal, and literally what to do about dumpster fires. And so these are the kinds of things that Project Echo problem solves around. And we've also seen about 76 presentations from experts on what to do downtown with respect to mental health, drug intervention and prevention, mental health and skill training, and more. So the next session is, of course, this Thursday at 1 p.m. With Chief Medina. And so they are fascinating sessions to sort of tune into. But to hear a little bit more about this and how it's working, I want to hand it over to one of Albuquerque's favorites, truly actually a legendary force around the world for connecting people, especially in the context of public health and now public safety. Our own Dr. Sanjeev Arora. Doctor, founder of Echo, we'll hand it to you.
Thank you, Mayor Tim Keller. First of all, I want to congratulate you and for all the good work you've done. We are really grateful for all the service you do to the city of Albuquerque and for the enormous leadership you demonstrate, and also all the successes that you brought of bringing some large businesses into our state, and so grateful. So maybe I'll take a couple of minutes to describe a story why Echo started. So, and then how, so, I'm a gastroenterologist, and in 2001, I was seeing a patient in my clinic at the University of New Mexico. I'm a professor here. And there was a 43-year-old woman sitting in the room. And I asked her, how can I help you? And she said, I have hepatitis C. I want treatment. So I said, of course, we'll treat you. How long have you had it? And she said, I've had it for 8 years. So my next question was, why did you not come earlier? And she said, I live 200 miles away, and it was very hard for me to come here 12 times to see you, and no specialists were there in a rural area. And I said, why did you come today? And she said, now I'm having pain here in my right upper side of my abdomen. And I got worried. I did an ultrasound of her liver and found she had a cancer of her liver, which was slightly smaller than a tennis ball. And um, I got very concerned, but there was nothing I could do at that point we could do to save her life. And she passed away 6 months later, leaving 2 children. And I asked myself, why did she have to die? And the answer was because the right knowledge didn't exist at the right place at the right time. And this essentially created echo, because we knew that unless we had the right knowledge at the right place at the right time, we could not get the right care at the right place at the right time. And we started echo for hepatitis C, and that time 28,000 patients in New Mexico, less than 1,500 had been treated, and we treated about 10,000 patients all over New Mexico by training primary care clinicians all over the state of New Mexico in a case-based learning methodology that the mayor just talked about. That model has spread around the world now. It's a hub and spoke model. As you know, the city of Albuquerque is a hub for effective policing, but it has been applied 1,100 times with learners in 179 countries, and in 2020 alone, 1.3 million learners are learning and being mentored in ECHO. The way this became useful in policing, and I want to thank Damon Martinez for his leadership, and of course, Maria Wolf, who keeps it all together, and that they essentially came up with the idea of really, with the mayor, to use the model for policing. But the principles were the same, that if you bring people together in a community of practice and learn around solving real problems, in this case, dumpster fires or other issues of that nature, and get the feedback from the community, from the police, from not-for-profit organizations, from homelessness advocates, that you can actually create something, what we call all teach, all learn, create respect amongst learners, and actually allow for new knowledge to be created. And so I'm so grateful to you, Mayor Tim Keller, Damon, and Maria, to show the whole world that Albuquerque and New Mexico can create something which the rest of the world can follow and really adopt to create better relationships between police and community and create effective interventions. And so thank you again for this opportunity to be of service and I want to thank the University of New Mexico that has, of course, allowed us the ECHO to grow here to be a worldwide movement. And you are the pioneer in public safety, and thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arora, and credit to all your hard work on this. And I love hearing the sort of humble beginnings for something that is now global force for good. Now, Dr. Arora mentioned, among other things, the UNM connection, of course, of which he's a doctor in the system. But we do want to talk about some of the other linkages that have been created with respect to UNM and downtown through Project ECHO. And so to discuss some of that, let's hear from the UNM Dean of Students, Mark Ogawa.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm the Dean at Amy Beale High School, and I'm part of the organization downtown. The deans got switched around there a little bit.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. So I'm part of the organization of the ECHO downtown that communicates. And the information I have is we go on ECHO and we say, I'm Mark from Amy Beale High School. ECHO has helped systematize the way Amy Beale High School administration can help people experiencing homelessness, and in turn share that method with other downtown businesses. We have a team approach to triaging the way we work with people who come on campus. The first level is a two-person system that consists of me talking to the person while another staff member observes from a safe distance so they can call for assistance if the situation needs more help. If the person does not leave and seems look like they're looking for help, I can tell them that I can't help them, but I can connect them with someone that can help them. And the officers can access way more resources of downtown homelessness assistance or medical assistance than I can, and that they're super successful at helping people this way. If the person doesn't leave and they have indicated that they want me to leave them alone, then I can use Block by Block, another organization downtown, and call them to see if they've had interactions with the person or if they can help, or if we should just call the downtown officers. Then we clearly communicate who's going to call the downtown officers. Or I can just call the downtown officers directly and give them firsthand information so they know what the situation is and they can ask me any questions. My confidence in the system is extremely high because I have seen it work successfully multiple times. One instance was a person experiencing homelessness who refused to leave from the side of the school building and was adamant about not leaving. I took that refusal as an opportunity to call the officers so they could talk with him. It turns out that the person had very bad ulcerations on their feet and didn't know what to do, and they needed medical attention, and the officers were able to access people that could help them with that. ECHOs helped let other businesses downtown know a system that we use at Amy Beale High School to safely help people experiencing homelessness. In the ECHO meeting, when I presented this information and our methodology, participants acknowledged to me how helpful the information was to them. Thank you for letting me share that.
Thanks so much, Dean. And yeah, sorry about the title confusion there. I had Dean as students and I was kind of like, I'm pretty sure, Mark's with Amy Beale, but anyway. And of course, Amy Beale being located downtown, just to connect some dots maybe for public who are watching. Such an important part of this. And we're fortunate in Albuquerque to have a charter high school downtown. I mean, I think it does add to some of the vibrancy and character of our downtown.
Thank you.
And so thanks for sharing that. And next, let's hear from Mesa Detective Services. I think we have Valerie Simpson to join us. Valerie.
Hi, everybody. My name is Valerie Simpson. I'm with Mesa Detection Agency. We are a local security company that serves Albuquerque. We are an unarmed security company, and we are located downtown. We're actually catty corner from the police station. So I started participating in ECHO sessions about, 2 years ago when they first started, and I had a lot to learn, and I did learn a lot. ECHO has helped me think differently about security, and in turn has helped me educate my clients and associates on how they contribute to their safety and the safety of their customers, tenants, and their staff. I was first introduced to CPTED through ECHO. CPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. And I have made it a point to educate the property managers on resources that are available to them through APD's crime prevention specialists. I also participate in a commercial real estate group, which includes architects and interior designers. I have encouraged all of my friends from this group to incorporate CPTED into their planning. My associates were in awe when I brought to their attention that the first line of defense in an office setting is the front desk person. I learned this from an ECHO session about an active shooter. As for Mesa, we have been able to make changes to our staff, changes to our policies to keep staff, customers, and tenants safe, all of whom are Albuquerque residents. We all have to do our part in keeping Albuquerque safe. I tell my clients that Albuquerque is growing and changing, and we need to grow and change with it. Maybe you need to update the security measures that you have had in place for the past 10 years. Safety and security is a moving target, and there is not one solution to the problem. We need to educate, empower the business owners to keep our streets safer. And if we educate and empower business owners, they will be eyes on the streets for police officers. It'll take some time to see some changes. I was on a Zoom meeting with the AED president. AED stands for Albuquerque Economic Development. She recently relocated over here from another state, and she told the group of commercial real estate agents that she feels safe walking downtown. And that made me proud, because that didn't just happen. It was through efforts of the downtown community to make her feel safe at that moment. I feel that the citizens of Albuquerque need to focus on creating long-term sustainable changes. Public safety is everybody's responsibility, and we need to take ownership of our streets. I learned from ECHO that the burden of public safety should not lie solely on the police officers, and that we all need to take our part in policing our property and ourselves. I don't feel ECHO is the answer, but I feel it's a piece to the puzzle. And I feel it's a great start. And I hope that we find more puzzle pieces to help Albuquerque, because I love my town. So thank you so much for letting me speak. And thank you so much for ECHO, creating ECHO.
You got it. Thank you so much, Valerie, and for all your work as part of the project and otherwise. And I appreciate that story too, about the individual feeling safe downtown. And I think that's something that, we hear all the time, obviously, about challenges around homicides and different things. But, a lot of these really are confined to the nexus of drug interactions, domestic violence, and, these sort of hotels along the highway. So not that we know we have to work on those, but we can also say on the same time, downtown is actually in a much, much better place than it was 2 years ago. And it's a credit to everyone in Project ECHO and also, of course, the downtown team that we designed at APD to actually focus on downtown in terms of a district small police unit. So with that, let's hear from some folks from APD, and let's begin with Officer Williams.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Hence Williams, the Albuquerque Police Department. Yesterday, Maria gave me a call and asked about the experiences or the situations that I had learned from with regard to ECHO, and everything popped into my head, from how to secure license plates to the HEART program with Albuquerque Fire and Rescue. Having been a part of ECHO just made me a better police officer. I started having officers reach out to me for assistance on how to handle situations, such as working with individuals experiencing homelessness and programs that the city provided that may assist them, whether it's just a place to stay that night or mental health treatment or connecting them with services from heading home. I can't say there was any one thing, but I can say when I was trying to help a friend with a license plate 2 weeks ago, I knew exactly where to go at Lowe's off 12th and find the correct screws, because we had this conversation during ECHO. I know who I can reach out to when I'm working with somebody downtown that's experiencing some mental health issues. And it may not necessarily be a police emergency, but it's an emergency to that individual who needs assistance. And because of that, time and time again, the programs I was able to facilitate or assist with facilitating through ECHO just gave me an experience that a lot of other officers haven't had yet, but are now starting to experience. I've since moved on and gone to another unit with the police department. And I know Officer Coleman and Monard are filling in and continuing to carry that forward. I can't say enough about Maria and Sochi and Mr. Martinez for the opportunity that they've given me. I just showed up time and time again, and they had everything laid out and provided the information, and I was able to facilitate and learn from that. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I look forward to continuing to stay involved with ECHO as much as I can, just because I know not only does it make me an informed citizen, but a better police officer. Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time.
You got it. Thank you, officer, and thanks for your service. Great to hear from you and that perspective, and appreciate you sharing too. Part of this is about connecting folks in need with those services. So when we talk about sort of the unsheltered and some of the vagrancy challenges, ECHO works on that too. And so the flexibility, I think, of ECHO is also on display with some of these remarks. So let's hear from another officer at APD and their perspective. Officer Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Keller. I am Connor Coleman. I'm a Downtown Public Safety District Patrol Officer, and I've been fortunate enough to participate in assisting facilitating the Downtown Public Safety ECHO since its inception a couple of years ago. I've also just recently been advised that we will be training 7 new facilitators tomorrow. So hopefully I'll have some more esteemed colleagues here not too long. The biggest impact that ECHO and what I've learned from ECHO has had on me professionally is that oftentimes as a law enforcement officer, we are tasked with dealing with certain societal problems that really don't have their fundamental nexus in criminal intent or criminal behavior. We deal with a lot of individuals that are experiencing behavioral health crises, individuals that have substance abuse disorders, and individuals that are experiencing homelessness that occasionally run afoul of either state statute or city ordinance, at which time we are called to address the problem. I think any person that signs up to be a police officer oftentimes does so because they have a commitment to solving problems. However, it becomes an untenable situation when the problem you're presented is really not one that you're trained or equipped to deal with. Sure, you could get a call about somebody that's maybe obstructing movement on a sidewalk, and if you so choose, you could handle that from an enforcement standpoint and cite them for obstructing movement. But if that individual is obstructing movement on the sidewalk because they've recently lost their place to stay and they are storing their property there in the hopes that they'll be housed again shortly, and they just need some assistance with that, that's not an option, a criminal justice intervention, that's going to help solve that problem. So that's one case that was brought to us by one of our partners down here. And when I brought a problem that I don't have a solution to, it can be kind of distressing. I hate to tell people there's nothing I can do, because again, I want to solve that problem and I want to solve it in a way that's impactful and effective. That's where the ECHO program has come in. Now I have developed a Rolodex of resources, service providers, partners in the downtown area and outside the downtown area that have joined us for these ECHOs that can come up with solutions to these problems that maybe a law enforcement intervention isn't what's called for. We're not dealing with these necessarily grand sweeping cases of great significant import. We're dealing with a lot of little things, minor things that people bring to our attention. But the thing that's great about the ECHO program is you don't need these grand sweeping cases to make a powerful impact, because community and community building is about all of those little things that happen and that really remarkable, wonderful cumulative effect that all of those little things have. So the ECHO program and my participation in it has empowered me to know if I can't solve this problem and a criminal justice intervention isn't what's called for, I've got about a dozen people that I can call depending on what it might be. When I encounter other officers that find themselves in a situation, I can pass that information on so that when we're called, instead of just handling that call, we can do something that has an impact that's A, going to improve the quality of life of the individual that the call is the subject of, the person that called it in, and it's increasing our capacity to do what we really need to do, which is focusing on more higher level criminal offenses. It's been an absolute privilege to get the opportunity to help get this first downtown public safety echo off the ground. And I'm very excited to see the expansion of the program. And thank you for allowing me to share some of my experiences with it.
All right, thanks so much, officer. And I wanted to check, I think we had a little bit of a IT cutout. So all set there. Anything else you want to add, officer?
I am good to go, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Okay, nice. All right. So, and with that, I think a good way to wrap up is sort of some of these experiences from directly from the streets of downtown. So we're happy to take some questions, and we'll kind of, I think Matt actually is going to coordinate questions for us. And I do know there's some others on, for example, Damon Martinez, our policy advisor, and others. So we'll direct them as appropriate.
Perfect. Let's start with Peter Rice. Go ahead, Peter. You are unmuted.
Hi, Mayor. Good afternoon. I wanted to, since we're in a kind of 2-year retrospective mode here, I wanted to see if I could get you to look 2 years into the downtown core's future. And apart from crime and homelessness, which of course have been very much discussed, what do you see as the biggest challenges faced by the downtown core in a post-COVID world, and a warning your answers may be used at future ECHO meetings for topics?
Oh, excellent. Very thoughtful question, Peter. And I appreciate the retrospective. So looking forward in terms of what the retrospective would be 2 years in the future. I would say a couple of things. First off, look, coming out of the pandemic, there are some realities around recovery. And some of them are very sort of specific and tangible. Like one is we have got to get the convention center open. It's currently only allowed to open in a super limited capacity that basically makes it non-viable. So just to remember, like all of the hotels that are downtown, mostly, they service the convention center. I mean, that's their clientele. Some business travel too and things, but that's how this economic system downtown is supposed to work. The convention center, hotels, and then we have obviously commercial and retail. So anyway, that is something that I'm optimistic this summer is going to happen. And, it depends obviously on the state public health order and on the pandemic, but look, at some point in the next few months, we're going to be able to get that open. I also know the funding that we're putting in, 1.5 million we put into amp up tourism into Albuquerque. And that money is going to start hitting the airwaves. It's being used for advertising. That's going to start hitting the airwaves in May. And the idea is to, build travel for June. And I just sent down to council on Friday another $1 million to have enhanced advertising June and July. So those are kind of in partnership with the Lodgers Tax Board and also with Visit ABQ. So that's in the very short term. Now, as we look a little further out, there, I think, are some positives and some negatives that I would highlight. One is our construction at the rail yards to make that a usable, leasable space is going to be wrapping up in the fall. So that's very good news, meaning that now 3 buildings at the rail yards will be leasable for, full-time tenants. And yes, we're going to always continue the market. So that will not stop. But, which building it's in or whether it's in the courtyard and things like that, we'll work around because we want to continue to activate that space. So I think that's another positive thing as we look towards economic development downtown that should start really, we'll feel it in the fall. And the other aspect I would mention is this connecting of downtown and Edo. So the work that we're doing on what's called the rail trail that will connect the rail yards over to the properties around Villa Miriam and Glorieta Brewing and the theater district, in the at-grade crossing that we want to do to literally so you can drive across it and walk across it. Because right now the rail yards just cuts downtown in half. And so to connect those two areas is going to help with all the retail and commercial and entertainment, especially back in that theater district. So those are some good things. I do want to mention one challenge. The pandemic is making commercial office space a lot less interesting and viable. So when we think about all of our tall office buildings and filling them, I think that is going to be a huge challenge for every city in America and our city. We know vacancy rates were already pretty high downtown in Albuquerque, but now with everyone working from home and with this whole work from home trend, and no one wants to be in that open workspace that we all used to love, where you're playing foosball and you're working and all this stuff. Now COVID is really questioning all of that. I actually think eventually that'll come back, but we're going to be headed for a rough 2 years when it comes down to commercial vacancy downtown. So we're going to try some different programs on that. It's kind of a summer to do item for our administration to work with downtown folks on. The last thing I would say is those issues, I think, are going to drive downtown more than things like basic safety. I think with Echo and our downtown team, we've made a step change. Yes, there are still issues, absolutely, but we're in a very different place than we were 2 years ago. And as people do come back in any capacity, whether it's a convention center or otherwise, it's going to continue to help that public safety. Lastly, we put down on Friday $1 million for more lighting downtown. And so this was the other connection between built environment and public safety that we want to see. And so that funding, as long as council gives it to us, is also going to help keep everyone safe downtown.
All right, thanks, Peter. Next, let's go to Ryan Laughlin.
Thanks, Matt. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Mayor Keller, tell me a little bit about how you said you think downtown's in a lot better place than it was 2 years ago. Obviously, the pandemic and state orders are things that we can't control, but how is downtown in a better place? And can you, we heard from a lot of sort of people sharing stories about how Echo has made a positive impact, but I don't know, can you quantify the safety part of this downtown and how you think downtown's in a better shape than it was 2 years ago?
Sure. Well, I want to be clear about the context of that. That's in the context of the work on public safety. I mean, the pandemic, obviously, and with the convention center closed, I mean, downtown is in a desperate situation that it hasn't seen in decades, but that's due to the pandemic. So with respect to where we are in a better place is we have our downtown unit established, up and running. We have Echo coordinating folks together. And we do see in general a decrease in incidents downtown from what we've seen in the past. So it is one of the few areas where overall challenges with respect to public safety are down. Now, there's still an issue. So no one is in any sense saying that the work is done, but we are absolutely in a much better place when it comes to public safety than we were 2 years ago, when there was none of this happening downtown. Also, we're going to be establishing a new actual police station on, I think it's 4th and Central. And so that is also going to be helpful with respect to as downtown comes back to life. So I mentioned over the long term, once we get through these pandemic challenges with respect to the convention center and being able to utilize all of the spaces downtown, and with the rail yards construction finishing and with the rail trail project connecting Edo and downtown. Again, these are things that were not happening 2 years ago. So that's why I do think we are in a much better place with respect to those issues. But all of that has to include the pandemic essentially ending for all intents and purposes this summer. And so we're sort of giving you a pro forma look at downtown post-pandemic.
Okay, that is it for questions online.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We appreciate it. And we are check out downtown on First Fridays. So if you want to get, again, a glimpse into what downtown can be post-pandemic, our First Fridays have been busier than they have been before the pandemic and are an example of the kind of vibrancy we hope to see